A son, the pride of his mother. A mother, the shield of her child. But what happens when greed poisons love? When the very blood you gave life to becomes thirsty for your death? Tonight, witness a tale where sacrifice turns into betrayal, and a mother's tears ignite the flames of revenge. This is not just a story. This is a curse written in blood. A mother and son, bound by love, destroyed by revenge.
The rain was falling hard that night, pounding against the small village house as if heaven itself wanted to drown its sins. Inside, on a creaking wooden chair, sat a woman with her face hidden in the shadows. In her trembling hands was a knife, stained with blood so fresh it still dripped onto the cracked floor. At her feet lay her son, his eyes wide open, frozen in shock, staring at her, as if asking one final question: why? But the answer was buried in decades of pain, betrayal, and curses no family should ever carry. Chapter 1: A Mother's Sacrifice. 𝚂𝚘𝚝 was known in her village as the strongest woman anyone had ever met. Widowed at 24, she raised her only son, 𝚈𝚘𝚘𝚜𝚝, with blood, sweat, and sacrifice. While other women remarried or depended on relatives, 𝚂𝚘𝚝 worked in fields during the day and stitched clothes under the dim lantern at night. 𝚈𝚘𝚘𝚜𝚝 was her pride. She fed him when she herself went hungry. She wrapped herself in rags so he could have a school uniform. Every neighbor whispered, "That boy will change 𝚂𝚘𝚝's life one day." But children rarely grow up the way parents dream. Chapter 2: The Poison of Greed. By the time 𝚈𝚘𝚘𝚜𝚝 turned 25, he had grown tall, handsome, and ambitious. He had dreams of leaving the village, making money, and living in the city. But 𝚂𝚘𝚝's small piece of land was the only thing he had as inheritance. One day, 𝚈𝚘𝚘𝚜𝚝 said coldly, "Sell the land, Ma. With that money, I can start a business." 𝚂𝚘𝚝 looked at him with shocked eyes. "Sell this land? This land has your father's blood in it. He died plowing it. This is our home." But greed eats love faster than termites eat wood. Slowly, 𝚈𝚘𝚘𝚜's respect for his mother began to fade. Chapter 3: A Stranger's Whisper. Into 𝚈𝚘𝚘's life came a woman named Roshni, beautiful, cunning, with a smile that could melt hearts, but eyes sharp like a blade. She whispered poison into his ears every night. "Your mother is holding you back. Sell the land. With money we can escape this rotten village. I'll make you rich, 𝚈𝚘𝚘, but only if you're brave enough." The more 𝚈𝚘𝚘 listened, the more he turned against 𝚂𝚘𝚝. He began to shout at her, call her old and useless. Neighbors watched in silence, pity in their eyes. 𝚂𝚘𝚝 suffered quietly, thinking it was just a phase. But sometimes phases turn into storms. Chapter 4: The Breaking Point. One evening, 𝚈𝚘𝚘 returned home drunk, his eyes bloodshot. "Enough of your stubbornness, Ma," he screamed, pushing the food she had cooked to the ground. "You'll either sell the land or—" He stopped, but the threat hung in the air like the blade of a guillotine. 𝚂𝚘𝚝's hands shook. She realized something terrifying. Her son, the boy she had raised with her own flesh, was ready to destroy her. That night she cried alone, but something inside her snapped. A small seed of revenge began to grow. Chapter 6: The Curse of a Mother. They say when a mother cries silently, The earth itself feels her pain. That night, as lightning tore across the sky, 𝚂𝚘𝚏 whispered to the darkness, "If my son values greed over his mother, then may he drown in the very blood he spills. If he sees me as an obstacle, then let my death be his curse." The words weren't prayers, they were curses, and curses have strange ways of coming true. Chapter 7. The Trap. Days later, Arjun returned with Roshni. "Mother," he said sweetly, "we've decided to build a house in the city. We'll take care of you, too. Just sign these papers." 𝚂𝚘𝚏 looked at the documents. Property transfer. If she signed, she would lose everything. Her hands trembled as she picked up the pen, but instead of signing, she pressed her thumb into the ink and smeared it across his cheek. "Over my dead body," she whispered. Arjun's face twisted with rage. Roshni smiled wickedly. The trap was set. Chapter 8. The First Blood. That night, when 𝚂𝚘𝚏 went to fetch water from the well, she felt a sudden shove. Her head hit the stone wall, and blood poured down her forehead. She turned, stunned. Arjun stood there, his face pale, his hands shaking, but his eyes filled with something darker than hate. "Ma, just sign it. Why are you making me do this?" 𝚂𝚘𝚏 touched the blood on her face, stared at her son, and laughed, a bitter, broken laugh. "You've killed me long ago, Arjun. Tonight I just returned the favor." She staggered back into the house, leaving bloody footprints behind. Chapter 8. The Mother's Revenge. For days she remained silent, treating her wounds in secret, but her silence was not weakness, it was preparation. 𝚂𝚘𝚏 began cooking his favorite meals again, pretending to forgive him. She even smiled at Roshni, pretending to accept her. Slowly, Arjun's suspicion faded, but inside, 𝚂𝚘𝚏 sharpened her knife every night. Each scrape of metal against stone echoed her vow. "If my son wants my death, I'll give it to him, but not before I take his soul with me." Chapter 9. The Festival Night. It was the night of Diwali. Firecrackers burst outside, drowning screams, hiding sins. 𝚂𝚘𝚏 lit diyas around the house, her face calm, her heart burning like the flames. She served Arjun and Roshni a grand meal. Arjun, drunk with liquor and arrogance, laughed loudly. "Ma, maybe you're not so bad after all," he said, patting her shoulder. 𝚂𝚘𝚏's eyes glistened. She kissed his forehead, softly like she did when he was a child, but her hand gripped the hidden knife under her sari. Chapter 10. The Final Act. As the night deepened, 𝚂𝚘𝚏 asked Arjun to light one last diya near the family shrine. When he bent forward, she struck. The knife plunged deep into his back. He gasped, dropping the diya, fire spreading across the floor. "Ma," he whispered, falling to his knees. Tears streamed down her face. "You killed me long ago, Arjun. Tonight I just returned the favor." Roshni screamed, but the fires were rising. In the chaos, 𝚂𝚘𝚏 grabbed his son's head, pressed it to her chest, and whispered his lullaby one last time before plunging the knife again. Blood soaked her sari. Fire swallowed the house. Epilogue. Ashes and Whispers. When the villagers came the next morning, they found only ashes. Among the ruins, 2 charred bodies lay entangled, mother and son, locked forever in a deadly embrace. People whispered for years. Kamala killed her own child, but was it murder or justice? Some said the curse still lingers on that land. At night, if you walk near the ruins, you can hear a woman's lullaby mixed with a man's final scream.